Hello and welcome to episode 101 of Masters of the Forge. I am blessed with the presence of Jason.
Hi, everyone. Hey, guys.
And Snorre.
Hello.
Hola. So, we are recording pretty early in the morning because, again, blessed by Snorre. Hi, Snorre.
Hello.
And also because I'm going to the club today because it's a holiday tomorrow and some of us do stuff on Labor Day. So we're doing 2 days of Konor today, or this week. So
Cool.
it's the last week of Konor.
You don't celebrate May 1st, which is like Labor Day for the rest of the world.
We are
because
we have
that's
our
a
own
filthy
Labor Day
heretic.
because we're special.
Yeah, like May 1st is a filthy heretic, communist, socialist thing.
Well, I think May. Our early holiday is what is it, Jason? The one.
God.
The spring holiday that kind of kicks off summer. So we have a holiday
Memorial
that
Day.
kicks off summer, and we have Memorial Day. Yes, that's it, Memorial
that's
Day.
in June.
Then we have a holiday that closes summer. So it just keeps things nice and wraps things up in a nice little holiday bow. So we have that. That's when the fall one is when we have a lot of our fairs. And I think overseas they're like, I forgot what they're called, but it's usually an part agricultural, like local fair, and then they also have rides and food and attractions. So tomorrow I'm going to the demolition derby and watching junk cars smash into each other.
Yeah, I actually saw on Facebook that it's been a
tradition.
year since you sent me a message about some tractor pulling.
Heck yeah, tractor pull. Boom. We missed that this year, but that's okay. They actually posted them on Facebook, and I watched a couple. It was pretty sweet. Dude, those tractors, man, pretty
Hey,
sweet.
they put gas turbine engines from helicopters in those things. Even I can enjoy that
yes.
sound.
Oh yeah,
I don't care about the tractors. I don't care about what they're pulling. But hey, I can just close my eyes and pretend I'm at an airfield.
yeah, it's no joke. They're pretty gross. So we're recording early, and I appreciate it. But first, I guess we'll get into any kind of hobby progress we have going on. Snorri, do you have any hobby progress to announce, or you
Not
chilling?
really hobby progress, but I feel that I can take a minute maybe to give Adam a big hug and a big pat on the back and say he actually inspired me to get in shape again. Because I'm getting kind of overweight, and I need to do something about that. I need to, shape up a little bit. So watching Adam shed the pounds, I decided that, you know what, I can make daily walks and do some workouts every now and then. Not like go completely crazy, like vegan training fanatic kind of crazy. But, just a little bit here and a little bit there. And it's actually helping.
Right. Nice. That is awesome, dude.
Thank you, Adam.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you've been sharing some of your progress. I would like to invite you to my Fitbit group, but my Fitbit has disappeared, so I don't know what I did with it.
You check the glove compartment underneath your seats in the tire in the car.
It's so teeny tiny, and I've gone through 3 pairs of goggles already. It's only been like 2.5-3 months of doing swimming, and I've lost 2 pairs of goggles.
Ouch.
So so that's just life as me. That's life as this guy. So, Jason, what's your hobby progress?
My hobby progress. I built
Lots of black power armor, right?
Yeah, well, all sorts of weird stuff. I built a lot of the bases because I was getting tired of running out of them, and it's kind of actually kept me from building stuff. So I just built about 40. Did a couple of Raven Guard scout squads. but they're troops. They're boring. I then went and built a Cyrus stand-in, a Death Watch sniper Vindicare assassin guy, and that was kind of fun. Lots of black power armor. And to really set the contrast off on this guy, the base has all sorts of colors, so it makes him look a lot more interesting, because I think by himself he's... Well, yeah, I guess he's 3-color minimum, but but that's kind of nice. And then I started building a Knight Errant for 30k, which is an agent of Malcador, blah blah blah. And he's gonna...
Yeah, it's not an Imperial Knight. It's a infantry model.
Yeah, it's an infantry model. According to their lore, it's supposed to be someone that Malcador has recruited to help the Emperor, I guess. I'm not sure. There's so many cross ways of working within the Imperium at that time. So anyways, they're supposed to be in kind of a gray-black armor, and so I've painted this guy up, and he's got a fun little story. Former Thousand Sons sniper, because a Knight Errant can take a sniper rifle. I thought, hey, this could be cool, and he's still got the Khopesh Force Sword, so it's like definitely a Thousand Sons guy, but he has no other iconography. So I'll put pictures up of him when he's finished. So, and I'll bust out the macromat. But that's my hobby progress. What about you, Adam?
Oh boy! So I have some. I finished the repulsor that I was working on. That was an interesting project. I was very intimidated by it. I'm not real. I haven't really been in the practice of doing, Space Marines or any other clean line army. So it was pretty intimidating to dive into the painting of that model. I turned it over in my head a few times, kind of just trying to think about how I was going to do it. I don't like edge highlighting. I don't think it looks natural. I appreciate, people's work when they do it, but I prefer not to do it on my own models. But at the same time, how do you create depth? How do you create, any kind of definition without it? So I went through, the first thing I did was I did a large dry brush over it with a lighter purple. Then again with the same purple, just kind of layering on the dry brushes, and it looked okay, but I could still tell it was a little, with dry brush you kind of get that textured effect on where the paint, the paint's own texture. You kind of use that to get your highlights, and it still looked a little patchy. So I went over with the base color again on the bottom of the tank to kind of fade up into the lighter purple. And I stopped and I looked at it and I said, okay, I think I know what we need to do here. So I went and I painted all the silver and all the white. The white took a while because it's, the multiple layers of that white on top of white. And then I clear coated the whole thing with gloss, and I did an oil wash. I decided to go ahead and oil wash it. Now remember,
so you didn't use this as an excuse to buy yourself an airbrush then?
Well, I have an airbrush, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm even with an airbrush. The airbrush would have done the same thing as the dry brush did, and I still would want that definition in the cracks. Oh yeah. And I wasn't gonna do any pin washes because I just don't have the patience for pin washing. So I went and I did the oil wash over it, and for the tank, I thought it was going to be tedious because that's, it's a big tank, that's a lot of Q-tips. But in this case, I actually was able to, my buddy Pat had given me some gloves to do airbrushing with. So I put on some gloves and I grabbed a roll of paper towels, and I removed the oil wash with paper towels instead of well, I mean, I did kind of use the Q-tips for some of it, for some of the smaller details, but the majority of it I was able to take off with paper towels soaked in the thinner.
Yeah, as long as the paper towels don't lint too much, then yeah, why not?
Yeah, they didn't, and I didn't use a heavy absorbent like quilted paper towel. They were cheap, Walmart brand paper towels, which I think is what you want to use for that type of situation. You don't. It actually leaves less of a mess than the Q-tips do. And I'm actually wondering, well, maybe it would be good to try that out next time I do even infantry, because I can pull off like a small piece of the paper towel, twist it into kind of a pen almost, and wipe off with that. I bet that'll leave a lot less lint than the Q-tips will. It's just a question of, is it absorbent enough? And I think it might be. So that's an interesting kind of happy accident kind of find there with the paper towels. So very interesting. And it looks good. I'm happy with it. It's got the kind of gradients and stuff that I was kind of looking for. And yeah, maybe instead of the dry brush, I should have gotten my airbrush out, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try that next time. Next, we had a tournament. We went to the Beef and Wing Brawl in, I think it was Syracuse-ish? No, Buffalo. It was in Buffalo, because Wendy and I did the Maid of the Mist after, which is the boat, the American side boat that goes under, pretty almost under the Niagara Falls. Yeah, which was really exciting. Anyways, I wanted to do. I repainted my big tracks for that. So I had some looted wagons that I had painted, my yellow and red looted wagons, which I've been using as the Forge World big track unit. And I had like 3 of those in my list, and I owned 3 of them. And they were all very old, like very early models that I had painted many years ago. So I decided to go ahead and redo those highlights and pretty much repainted the whole deal. Like I repainted most of them, and that was really gratifying to have those painted. And at the last minute, I decided, hey, you know what? I could probably use 4 of these. And I had done a trade with Nick, for the wings. Ooh, I have to bring him those wings. Adepticon he probably has to finish. I'll bring those today. Anyways, he had given me an old Razorback as part of that deal. And so I took that Razorback and I built an entire giant super cannon for it, and added one of the face plates for the from my what is it called, the Stampa kit that I turned into a Lord of Skulls. So I put that on the front of it, and I painted that up pretty much in a day. I was really excited. First time I'd really used the Reichland Flesh Shade on tanks, and that was it worked really well, although I spilled it and lost like a quarter of it from the spill. But I think that's a rite of passage when it comes to the Reichland Flesh Shade. So there's that. But yeah, the Beef and Wing Brawl was fun. I think, looking at it, I really feel like Skip should have won Best Painted at that thing. But, the guy's paint job was pretty good, but I still think Skip should have won. But aside from that, I picked up Best Painted in the Classic the next day. The Classic is like a 1250 point, more laid back tournament. So I picked up Best Painted in that and grabbed a, what do you call it? The Gene Stealer Cult tank.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot what it's called. Anyway, I picked up one of those, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll make a 5th looted wagon with that. So that'll be a project coming up soon. Then at that tournament, they had a skip bow tournament that Wendy enjoyed greatly. That's kind of the reason she went, and we had a wonderful time. Steve does a great job of running that. He berates you the whole time, and if you do something stupid or do something wrong, he forces you to duel somebody else, and whoever wins the duel gets to take a card from underneath their deck and put it on the bottom of the other person's deck, which is really funny. It's a great time with that. So yeah, that's my hobby progress. I still need to work on my terrain for the upcoming Golden Sprue Cup. Golden Sprue Cup is again on January 13th and the 14th, 2018. We're in 2017 now, right?
Yes.
Or is it 2016?
No, we are in 2017. I assure you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so 2018, and that is Martin Luther King Day weekend, and it's at the American Legion again because they did us right.
Yes.
So check out the website. You can go there, goldenspruecupgt.com, and the ticket. The ticket cart is up and ready. Pre-registration price is $40. It's going to go up to $50 on November 1st.
Okay.
Then we're actually going to be going to a GT event at the Portal on October somethingth. In October, it's the weekend after. I think it's the 27th, October 27th, because we have a little a tournament called the Headless Horseman RTT on October 21st on a Saturday, and we're gonna have prizes for best costume and best treats, best baked goods. And we're going to have a prize for most character kills, going with the whole Headless Horseman thing. So that should be a whole lot of fun. I really hope people get dressed up and go with the Halloween theme. Now, the missions are still going to be, competitive and stuff, but there'll be a added kind of fun, laid-back kind of rules also to go with those missions. So that is all I have coming up. And I'm done. I'm spent. That's enough.
Okay, folks.
Enough.
No more show. Bye.
Yep, that's it. Yep, that's it.
Nailed
18 minutes 42. Let's close this thing out. No, so this episode is about the Death Guard. I know we've had a lot of Legion-specific episodes lately, but I kind of want to stay relevant to the releases.
Yeah.
So, we're supposedly going to be getting a copy of the Death Guard Codex coming up soon, and if that is true,
Yeah.
the last segment will be a segment with Pat and me, where we will be discussing a game that we played using that Codex. Or if we don't get it in time, you won't get that. So we'll see. But for now, we're going to launch into some commercials, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Death Guard in the lore.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him his Zotobix today.
Oh, no.
Oh yes, Zotobix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh, boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotobix.
Yes, you had.
Zotobix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deathworlds.
Ah!
Zotobix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached. Oi! After an hard day's shopping, I like to head down to the pub and enjoy a good brew with me mates. Shopping hummies all day is hard smelly work, so's I likes to top meself up with something nice. Chopper body spray. It's not just a treat for you, it's a treat for the whole crew. Now available in Green Apple Grunt, All After Dark, and Oops Don't Press That Fragrances. Chopper body spray, don't make me axe you twice.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det ikke en bikkje, det en slags ting. Den imiterer en bikkje, men det ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Welcome back. So, Death Guard in the lore. So, Snorre, can you tell me something? What about the Death Guard attracted you?
Good question.
Was it simply just like, wow, these are easy to paint? Or was it in fifth edition they got like 8 saves?
Green paint and then you're done. But I think it was sort of that, not quite the undead zombie feel that they can give off, because that doesn't really appeal to me. I kind of hate zombies. I think the whole concept is stupid. But I think
tell
maybe
us how
it's
you really feel.
I think that the thing that appealed to me when it came to Death Guard was that whole it's like they've given themselves completely to their chaos god. They've accepted that they are dead, going to die and everything, so they're just doing their job because, screw it, it's the last thing we're ever going to do. And thanks to Nurgle, they can do it for way longer than they're physically supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think a lot of people jumped on that in 5th edition. They're a lot of fun. They're really cool. The models are cool. The lore is pretty sweet. And in 5th edition, the rules weren't too bad either. But
if you're talking about looking cool, I hope you're talking about Forge World here, because the Death Guard models that Games Workshop had, no, they were not cool. They were pretty horrible.
It depends on your point of view, because I know my buddy Pat, he loves the old models, like with the plague knife sticking up, and the fist like right next to the body is just like the guns like pushed out to the side, like these one-dimensional funny. And there's something about the Death Guard that is very similar to Orcs, where they have this great whimsy about them. And the same goes true for the Nurgle Chaos Demons as well.
And Nurgle Demons are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, they're the Nurgle Chaos guys are very whimsical, and Games Workshop has not. I guess they've kind of doubled down on that. We'll talk about that more when we talk about Death Guard in the hobby. For now, let's start our discussion on the actual like lore of the Death Guard. Why don't I start with information about what was going on during the Unification Wars. Now, at first, they're not. They didn't start off as the Death Guard, as a lot of these legions kind of were called something else before. And in fact, pretty much all of them were just referred to as their legion number. And I think that's a really cool, in general, I think that's really cool. It shows how it gives the writers of this lore an opportunity to grow the character of the legions. Like they're not just these numbers. They all have kind of this character to them, and it develops over time. Now they were born, kind of at the height of the Unification Wars. they're not like late bloomers like some of these other legions were. They were developed from the realms of Albia in southeastern Europe, directly from those formidable techno-barbarian tribes who had fought very hard against the would-be emperor and the Thunder Warriors. They were known for kind of standing their ground against the Imperium using these kind of dreadnought-like machines of war, and the Emperor, he saw that this war of attrition, was going nowhere. By the end of it, he would have been left with nothing, and the Albions would have been left with nothing, and he decided to treat with the enemy instead of decimating both them and his forces. All of his advisors said this was a terrible idea, that the Albions are ruthless and would probably kill him. Well, don't underestimate the Emperor's ability to talk you out of anything or talk you into anything, because he is basically a god. And the Albions, after hearing his thoughts and his wishes for the future of mankind, the Albions liked what they heard, and they bent the knee to the Emperor and joined and kind of added their strength to his. So the Sons of Albia would become the 14th Legion of the Space Marines. And their combat doctrine basically mirrored that of the Albions. They kind of had this relentless and tenacious way of executing attrition warfare. They're kind of like the Iron Warriors. They would send like these waves of Astartes into the foe until they couldn't take any more punishment, like down to the last bullet, but whenever another one would fall, another gray clad warrior would take his place.
But unlike the Iron Warriors, the 14th Legion didn't fight like mindless hordes. They were destined to be more than cannon fodder and do stupid things like garrison duty. The 14th Legion, they were still canny. They were used sneaky tactics that they had back from Albia, and in fact, they had a penchant for just striking at their foes in just the pre-dawn era. During the pre-dawn time, and this gave them the name the Dusk Raiders by their foes. Nice. And what's more, the Dusk Raiders had an honor streak. If their foe was human and they were offered truce and they actually showed an honest desire to treat for peace, the Dusk Raiders would actually stop fighting and say, okay, let's sit down, have a talk, see what we can do. If the offer was squandered, then sorry, mate, you blew your chance and we will just utterly decimate you. But if they sat down and had parley in proper manners, then they would actually just say, okay, this is done. We're not going to fight you anymore because we don't see the need to. And that is actually a little bit different than several other legions.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've noticed that the and it's not just because they're nice guys. Like what they want to do is they want to make progress. Like they're always looking forward, and from what I've seen, they're not interested in wasting a whole lot of time. I mean, they're patient warriors, but if they can wrap up if they can wrap something up, they're gonna wrap it up. It's a lot quicker to just say, okay, yeah, great, let's do this, and then we'll just get on with kicking someone else's butt later,
But of course, if you say that, hey, let's make peace, and okay, Death Guard or Dusk Raiders, they've moved on to the next fight, then so do you just turn around, then sorry, that place you call home suddenly don't exist anymore. There's probably just an empty rubble-filled space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Death Guard, Dusk Raiders show no mercy. So, next up, we're going to talk about Mortarion. I will try not to call him Morty, I prefer calling him Morty, but, whatever. So, the 14th Legion's Primarch gestation pod came to rest on the forebodingly named feral world of Barbarous. It's kind of amusing because you see all these Primarchs landing on planets that have, horrible names.
Yeah, this lore is always a little on the nose, right?
Yeah. Just oh, okay. So how much worse can it get? Oh, great. Okay. So that's what your Legion's going to be about. Rad. All right. So although a normal child would have died from exposure to the world's poisonous atmosphere, he was found on a battlefield crying among the corpses. The warlord who took him on as his own son named him Mortarion, Child of Death. Mortarion had a voracious appetite for knowledge, and that would be the downfall of his adopted father, who sought to suppress that knowledge. The Primarch would spend his nascent years learning all manner of things about artifice and mysticism, but he desired to know more. Oh, the jokes. Oh. All right. He eventually broke out of the tall tower his adopted father had built on the world's highest peak and went down into the valleys. Okay. What is this? Cinderella? Rapunzel? Let down your hair.
It does kind of read like it.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah, let down your mechadendrites.
Not going to say anything. Just going to leave it. Okay. So these valleys were the only places humans could live where the lighter-than-air poisonous gases didn't reach them. Here, Mortarion learned that the warlords, his father included, were necromancers who brought the dead back to life and used them to fight against the living. A family show. Morty took pity on the people and helped them tactically and technologically to rise up against the warlords, his adoptive father included. Mortarion's trained human warriors were named...
Or especially...
the Death Guard. So that's pretty cool.
Bum, bum, bum.
Then the day came when his true father, the Emperor, arrived. Mortarion insisted that he didn't need the Emperor's assistance. The Emperor struck a bargain with Morty. If he defeated the warlord, the Emperor would leave. If not, Mortarion would bend the knee. So, Mortarion set off up the mountain alone. By the time he reached the summit, his armor was so badly corroded by the extreme nature of the environment that even he succumbed to the atmosphere. The last thing he saw before he lost consciousness was the Emperor stealing his chance to personally end the life of the tyrant. He would never truly forgive his father for this.
This is a big point.
Yeah.
It's actually much bigger than we originally thought. We'll talk more about that as we get on towards the later years of the 41st millennium.
When he came before the 14th Legion, he did so in the graven image of the ancient myth of the Grim Reaper, bearing his adopted father's strange scythe blade and speaking in raspy tones that everyone nonetheless could hear and understand. He decreed, "You are my unbroken blades, you are the Death Guard. By your hand shall justice be delivered, and doom shall stalk 1,000 worlds." And the 14th Legion was henceforth known as the Death Guard.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
The Great Crusade continued under the auspices of their Primarch. And the differences between the Death Guard and the other legions, such as the Iron Hands and the Imperial Fists, got deeper, which is good because there were a lot of similarities. Unlike these other legions, they had no stomach for garrison duty or holding territory, or as patient as they were on the battlefield, they had no patience for sitting around. The only difference is, instead of brooding about it like the Iron Warriors, they just chose not to do it. They became legendary for their ruthless execution of war. They moved from campaign to campaign, pulling down their foes with devastating efficiency. They were relentless and ruthless. For Mortarion, there was no tactic or strategy he wouldn't consider or execute as long as it brought victory. He also disbanded the Librarius, which was interesting. I know there's a lot, to do about this in the Horus Heresy, where he really despised sorcery because it had been the source of all that barbarism and tyranny on Barbarous. Damn it! So all his father's tyranny on Barbarous was directly related to that sorcery that he worked. Now, of course, at first, Mortarion was a student of such things, and so he understands it, and he has the capability to use it. He just has a distaste for it because of the way it suppressed his people. So as the Crusade dragged on, more and more of the Death Guard were recruited from Barbarous. And it's not surprising why, because the people of Barbarous already considered Mortarion this, savior, and they had an extreme loyalty to him. And
also, they had a toughness coming from a poisonous planet too, so that helps. Exactly.
They have this excellent stock. They're very excellent stock for the Death Guard gene seed because of their natural resistance to toxins, or at least their kind of learned or kind of like developed resistance to toxins. So more and more Death Guard were stationed on the front lines of battle in the worst conditions imaginable, and they really didn't care. It's like a delightful hot tub for them. During the Crusade, the Death Guard were somewhat shunned by many of the other legions. Not the least of this was because of Mortarion's horrible scarification, and he's kind of seen as this monster or a freak by the other Primarchs. I was born in it. I guess even the audio dramas with Mortarion are hard to listen to because of the voices. But ever the paragon of leadership, Horus was the exception. Mortarion and Horus got along famously, as did their legions. They worked in concert with each other in many military campaigns. The Death Guard would just be this put forward group of Marines who kind of ground the enemy down and wore them out, only to have the Luna Wolves come loping in and finishing them off. So the bonds of brotherhood between Mortarion and Horus would kind of seal the Legion's fate when the heresy came. After a while, the division began to pull the Death Guard apart. This whole Barbarous faction versus Terra faction. The old guard of the former Dusk Raiders were becoming the minority, and eventually only made up a single company of the Legion's forces led by Nathaniel Garro. They were loyal to the Emperor first, while the Legion owed their allegiance to Mortarion, which wasn't really all that surprising considering they owed him their very lives. The Death Guard, the original Dusk Raiders, the original Death Guard, they actually flocked to to become Astartes. No, even though an adult becoming Astartes has a high rate of mortality, they didn't care. They wanted to continue to fight alongside Mortarion and fight for Barbarous. And the kind of ladder of power, the Death Guard's allegiance to Mortarion, Mortarion's allegiance to Horus. The Emperor saw that as fine. He's like, that's fine. They can be because allegiance to Horus is allegiance to me, because my relationship with Horus is great. he was kind of wrong about that.
You were also talking about the whole pulling the Dusk Raiders into two groups, where you have the old people that came from Albia or were related to people from Albia, and then the people coming from Barbarous. That's covered in Flight of the Eisenstein.
Yep.
What is it? The fourth book of the Horus Heresy?
Yep, book 4.
Yeah, and where you're
Well,
following
the third book, if you don't count the third book.
Yeah, we're talking about the books as they were published. Down, boy, down. But yeah, Nathaniel Garrow is looked down upon for being an Earthborn, because all the other people around him are Barbarous born, and they consider themselves to be superior in every single way, even though the people from Albia, they weren't something to sneeze at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Snorre, do you want to talk about the Horus Heresy?
Yeah, that's continuing on with the Flight of Eisenstein. At the outset of the Drop Site Massacre, the loyal elements of the Death Guard, that is loyal to the Emperor, were deployed because, Death Guard, here we are, we're going to fight and everything. And then all the all the rebels just stomped every single one of them on there. They're just like the heretics. They just murder everything in sight because, everyone who's down there, they are the ones who need to die. And,
I thought this was really interesting, Snorre, because it's not when I at first thought of the Horus Heresy, I thought, okay, yeah, all these legions are getting killed by these other legions, but in fact, it's all the loyalists getting killed by these traitor legions. Yeah. Because there were a lot of Death Guard, there were a lot of Iron Warriors, there were a lot of, Thousand Sons or whatever, who were also killed by their own people. Like, it's not just brother against brother, like legion against legion, but it was truly, same legion against same legion in a lot of ways. And the Death Guard were certainly included in that.
Yeah, I think that it's been several years since I read the book, but the Flight of the Eisenstein mostly covers Death Guard and elements of the Emperor's Children, I think. And you have even loyal Emperor's Children who are sitting there going like, what happened to that guy? No, he just went around the corner and he accidentally got shot. Don't check for bullets or anything because, he just got shot. Turns out it's actually... Yeah, it's other Emperor's Children who are killing each other because, that one guy in that squad, he needs to go.
Yeah.
And
he could be a problem.
It's ugly business, really ugly business, but it's a really good read. Although it may have been a simple matter for Horus to bring Mortarion under the wing of the Ruinous Powers, it was the first Captain Callus Typhon of the Death Guard who sealed the Legion's fate with Nurgle. And, if you're going to call Mortarion Morty, can I call Callus Typhon Rick?
Sure.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense to me. Except I think Rick and Morty have a much a better relationship.
Yeah, it kind of works even. Typhus was seduced by the powers of chaos, in some part thanks to Erebus of the Wordbearers, who had founded secret warrior lodges devoted to the study of the secret ways of the warp. Because, that's kind of what Erebus seemed to be enjoying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, he had been forced to suppress and hide his impressive psychic powers, that is, Typhon. Let's not call him Typhus yet. And he had to hide his impressive psychic powers from his own Primarch and his brothers, and I don't think he liked that too much.
No.
Psychic powers seem to be something that most people are kind of proud of, even if they can't show it, because, it makes them special. And through this 7-pillared lodge that Typhon was member of, he found his true aptitude and purpose. And Horus relied heavily upon the Death Guard during the Heresy. The Legion clashed with the likes of the Salamanders, the Dark Angels, Iron Hands, Imperial Night Houses, and especially the White Scars. Were it not for a bit of serendipity and the sacrifice of a White Scar Stormseer, the Death Guard would have left the White Scars all but decimated.
Yeah,
And
so I guess
as
there's
fierce
a
as the-
bunch of stories about. There's a few stories of like the Death Guard and the White Scars clashing,
Yeah.
which is interesting. They probably chose to do that on purpose because of how different their combat doctrines are.
Yeah,
There
but
must be
also, also I would say that it probably goes to the fierceness of both legions, because they are fierce, but like you say, in different ways.
yeah, it makes for a naturally interesting story.
Oh yeah. Now, when the Death Guard fleet made preparations to assault Terra, Typhon slew the fleet's navigators and mired the Legion in the warp, where the will of Nurgle awaited. Like, the ultimate betrayal, he just said, screw it, Nurgle's gonna have his field day in here, and whether people like it or not, they're with me now. So in the warp, in the madness of the warp, the Legion was infected primarily with Nurgle's rot and the Destroyer Plague. Unfortunately for the Legionnaires, their toughness kept them alive through the horrifying mutations and infections. Moreover, their Primarch treated with Grandfather Nurgle for their deliverance from the warp. And after that day, the Legion would forever be bound within Nurgle's fate. Or is it...
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Typhon's fate, isn't it?
Well, no. Well, they're kind of bound to Grandfather Nurgle now.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. You know what?
They are a part of his kind of. They're a part of him now, and that's ever since Mortarion kind of made that pact to save them. He cursed them at the same time. It's almost like they would have been they almost would have been better off dead. But
Yep.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
It's
how things turned out.
Scheming and treachery on multiple levels.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because this kind of works for everybody except maybe Mortarion. But technically for him even, it kind of works. Because Nurgle gets an army, Mortarion gets demonhood eventually, Typhon gets to rule more or less over an entire army. So yeah.
Yep.
Alright, so now we're in the age of the Imperium. Morty was eventually granted demonhood by Papa Nurgle, because everybody deserves a gift. He installed himself as a ruler of a world known as the Plague Planet, which is a twisted mirror of Barbarous of old. He never forgave the Emperor for killing his adopted father. In part, Mortarion's hatred was likely also due to his shattered worldview. Not only had the Emperor stolen his opportunity to claim the place his adopted father had held as the Lord of the Universe he knew, but he expanded that universe by his very presence. Morty spent centuries chasing leads to find his adoptive father's immortal soul and do with it as he pleased. Wow, worst Father's Day present ever. Okay.
Yeah, right?
Okay, so while Morty had been focusing on more personal matters, the Death Guard have been actively led into battle by Typhon, now known as Typhus the Traveler. Typhus's plague-riddled body and sorcerous ways alone are enough to bring entire civilizations to their knees. But he also has what remains of the formidable 14th Legion at his disposal. Throughout the millennia, the Death Guard have operated in a more coordinated way than many of their brother legions. Even when not under the direction of Typhus, they come together into cults and war bands. Their only goal is to spread pestilence and disease, to do the bidding of Grandfather Nurgle, and spread his many gifts to all the peoples of the galaxy. In recent centuries, the Death Guard have featured prominently wherever chaos has taken interest, such as the Siege of Vrax, Pandarax, and more recently, the 13th Black Crusade.
Yeah. there's a lot of fun information out there about these campaigns and stuff that you can take part in. I assume Forge World's going to be revisiting some of this stuff in the future.
I hope so.
Siege of Rax and Pandorax have already been covered fairly recently, at least. So it might be something new, or maybe they're going to expand a bit
That's
on
a good
13th Black Crusade. That would actually be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good
lesser
point,
known,
Snorre.
lesser known parts of the Black Crusade as a campaign thing.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because, with the lore moving on the way it has, I think it would be a lot more fun to get a new kind of campaign out there that gives us some new fun things to do. So that's a good point. So now the Death Guard have launched a major offensive throughout the Ultima Segmentum. This is, post Cicatrix Maledictum appearing. They've been using their dark arts to spread contagion from one world to the other, using these kind of warp-borne diseases to give them the foothold that they need to bring forth greater numbers needed to take and hold worlds for Nurgle. Not only are the Plague Marines themselves responsible for these actions, but Chaos Demons and even the living dead of the Death Guard's fallen enemies. So the kind of the living dead plague or zombie plague or whatever you want to call it. And, again, we've learned recently that it's not just these plagues moving that does it. You have to have this connection to the warp for the plagues to be as virulent as they are. So it's not there's a little hope there, and I think the story would be kind of pointless if there was no hope. And I think it's good to add that, because otherwise, how would you even stop? Would it even be possible to stop these plagues if they were so insurmountable? But they actually need this connection to the warp, and Typhus himself needs these other forces to actually take entire worlds or entire systems, even though he's a living kind of fudge factory of happiness. Now, this is a long time in the making, but a schism of sorts has definitely formed between Typhus and Mortarion. At this point, Typhus has done so much work for Abaddon and the rest of the 13th Black Crusade that he kind of sees Mortarion as this self-centered, sentimental fool, and that Typhus is the favored kind of champion of Nurgle, even above his own Primarch.
Kind
So
of
I
mirroring
think that's really
Ahriman
interesting.
and Magnus the Red.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to that, and part of it, might even be just the nature of the model range, and the way the rules have worked. Like these champions have been doing the work for millennia, while their Primarchs have been kind of sitting on their thumbs, right?
Huh.
So it makes sense that they should feel that way. You can't blame them for feeling that way. But at the same time, without seeing the new Codex, right? Because the Chaos Space Marines Codex does not really go into the Death Guard or the Thousand Sons very deeply, for very good reason. They're getting their own codexes, and it would be kind of a waste of page space to delve too deeply into that lore. But what's going on with him? Is Mortarion truly only focused on selfish matters, or does he have a plan? When you spend millennia, if you're a demon Primarch and you spend millennia searching for your adoptive father so that you can torture him for eternity, is that tantamount to some kind of powerful ritual? Right? Because that amount of hatred, that amount of spite, I can see that being the catalyst for some other plan, some other grander plan. What do you guys think?
I hate to bring up the Thousand Suns again, but we've
Yep.
read what they've been doing with the Space Wolves for millennia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's very similar, and his Mortarion's father himself was a powerful necromancer, like no joke, powerful necromancer. So I could see some kind of, since Mortarion has found his father's immortal soul, has it trapped in this temporal clock. That's kind of a contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
In this, he has the soul tied to this temporal engine. What is he doing with this engine? And I remember Guy Haley talking about, there's something weird going on temporally in the galaxy, and he can't talk about it in great detail. I think that Mortarion, all of these engines that are scattered around Ultima Segmentum are tied to time. They're all these giant, powerful clocks of some kind. And they're tied to things temporally, and they are messing with the way time works in the Imperium, and that's probably why we're kind of stuck at midnight now. It's not just a matter of, we're stuck at midnight or at just before the stroke of midnight. In reality, it's actually like time is broken. And it might
Maybe he's
be
working on a
because
time
of
machine to go back and change things in the heresy.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that were the case? That would be unreal. So I think that there's a lot to explore. I can't wait to read this lore. I hope we get it soon so I don't have to talk out my butt when we record with Pat. But I guess that's kind of the end of that lore, our in the lore section. Is there anything you guys want to add when it comes to this information that we've kind of vomited, diarrheaed, or other nurgly terms into our microphones? I'm drinking my own brewed cold brew coffee right now, and it is glorious.
I'm drinking water.
Water here also.
Death Wish coffee. Listen.
So
It sounds like the belly. It sounds like the belly of a plague marine.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. I will say that if you're really interested in hold on. If you're really interested in reading some good Horus Heresy Death Guard stuff, the first 3 books they do show up. The 4th book, The Fly of the Eisenstein, is something that I highly recommend. That's when the first plague marine shows up in the timeline, and it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you really actually get to explore just what they went through to actually reach the point of becoming plague marines.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Sounds good. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Death Guard in the hobby.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more. Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for plus Blood Ravens Chapter plus. On Facebook, using the plus symbol, if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power, guard it well.
Hey mofos, are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarredcast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarredcast, Skared on YouTube.
Welcome back, Snorre. We're leaning heavily on you for this segment. I'm gonna warn you right now. There's a few notes I have ahead of time. So there's a lot of information in the Horus Heresy books, in the Black books, about how to paint your Death Guard. Now, the folks over at Forge World, I haven't spoken to them at great length, but I have had conversations with some of them and Carl about this, and they really don't care how it's not historical wargaming. It's still you do you. So there are so many great companies out there. You can do whatever you want. Though if you want to do the 7th Company and do Garo's forces, you can. You can use these pre-heresy gray color schemes. They're all in the Black books for the forces of Albion. You know, the Albion-born Death Guard, or what do you call it? Dusk Raiders. You can do the pre-heresy Death Guard in their white ceramite colored armor,
green shoulder pads and gold trim. That is a glorious paint scheme, if you ask me.
It's really nice, and you know, Paul Rudge has his own version of that, which is technically not the default scheme, but people have adopted as the default scheme, which is amusing. Which he finds amusing anyways. And there's something in between where you have the Death Guard scheme, but a lot of Albion centered kind of markings. But then as you go through the what do you call it, the Great Crusade, more and more badges and these green markings come from Barbarous, and the green kind of reflects the Barbarous landscape, like the sludge pools and gases and stuff. So the more Barbarossian you want your army to be, the more you add those green accents.
And there's another way to look at it also. It comes out in A Flight of the Eisenstein that Death Guard, they didn't care about their armor. They didn't wash it, they didn't paint it. They was like, we were issued this armor, we're going to fight in it, and that's it. We don't care about it. It's just armor. So their ships were never painted. They in the end, the armor that they had was white because that's ceramite. And they painted the shoulder pads green just because everyone was telling them, well, you have to do something. So they were like, fine, we'll paint it green, we'll put on some gold. Are you satisfied now? Fine, shut up. And over time, because they never really cleaned their armor it just got so grimy with dust, ash, blood, all that kind of stuff. It just turns into sort of a living green-brown thing, kind of shade, and just goes from there. So that's also another explanation for why it's green.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's really cool, Snorre. You know, I hadn't ever thought of it that way, and see, that's why you're here. That's why you're here with us right now.
So yeah, for me, the easiest way to paint Death Guard really is. I end up with a ochre to light eggs, like almost eggshell green highlight using the airbrush is just the way I do it. And then I just more or less dip them in brown wash. because that brings the ochre and the light green into more of a medium to dark green kind of color with a brown tinge to it. And it looks dirty because of the brown wash. So, yes, call me a cheater, but it's effective.
That's what you do. Do you do your ochre wash before or after squad markings?
No. There's no ochre wash. It's from the bottom. I paint kind of like dark brown from the bottom, or like all around the model, really, just to give the dark base. Then I just spray from the 45-degree angle. I just spray ochre on the model to hit most surfaces, except those which are like point towards the bottom, and then just a top spray of very light green. The eggshell green is almost white, actually, with just a hint of green in it. And then from there, just one brown wash, like a really thick brown wash, just to make it look dirty. So but you would do that wash before or after your squad markings to kind of what squad markings?
Good point. Yeah,
I don't do squad markings. They're like it's armor. They know where they belong, so they don't really need to squad mark because that's fancy.
Okay. Have you ever done any like weathering techniques like salt weathering or anything like that on your?
No, I actually haven't.
I've seen it.
It's something I've
done a lot.
Yeah, it's something I would like to do at some point. Just like pre-spray the entire tank in a rust orange thing, and just sprinkle the salt on and start spraying the green just to get those flecks of rust underneath. It looks really cool, but I just haven't gotten around to doing something fancy stuff like that. But I don't really have a lot of Nurgle tanks yet, or Death Guard tanks.
Yeah, you can go on the internet and just do a search for salt weathering, and you can easily find information. I've never done it. Well, I've never had a real desire for it. You can do weathering powders, but the more I use weathering powders, the more I feel like it's just hard to do with models you're actually touching.
Yeah.
Because they react so badly to clear coats, and they react so badly to being touched that I really don't see a use for them except for centerpiece models or models you're not going to use. That's just my opinion on weathering powders at this point.
Well, if you use those fixers for weathering powders, they usually help make the powder stick properly to the model and not just peel off. But
if you're someone who uses your models sparingly, like once a month, the fixer's okay. But if you use your models all the time, even the fixer doesn't really help, especially because the fixer has a different patina, and you actually have to spray over it anyways. It's just annoying.
Yeah. I haven't experimented too much with weathering powders yet, so I'll see about that. Speaking actually of the different color schemes, my Hellbrutes are actually painted in the old Legion scheme with green shoulder pads, but more of a creamish white base armor color. Because I wanted my Hellbrutes to be old school. I also wanted to test out the 30k color scheme in case I wanted to do Death Guard in 30k, which I don't. But yeah, it was fun, and it really looks nice to have that old white, green, and gold color scheme.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like people do actually go ahead and do the Death Guard scheme and then just kind of yuck it up. But I like what you said about the fact that the new Death Guard color scheme, it actually kind of is the old Death Guard color scheme. It's just been so many millennia that the armor is just jacked.
Yeah.
It's just jacked up. You're not going to see much white ceramite underneath that because it's not painted white. It's the ceramite, and it's been diseased and pockmarked and everything.
They rolled in the mud and ash and blood for so many millennia that there's not going to be anything left of the old colors.
Yeah, exactly. So, I want to talk about some of these models that they've been teasing a little bit, and I want to hear your reaction to these models, Snorre. What do you think?
Which models? I don't follow rumors. I only know the ones that are in the Dark Heresy box.
Yeah, we've had some Dark Heresy, and we've had Mortarion, and some of the other Death Guard stuff teased. These Nurgle models are absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion. I love the Pox Walkers.
Oh yeah, I've been using the Warhammer Fantasy zombie models to make plague zombies for my typhus, and the new Pox Walkers, 1,000 times better. They actually fit much better than just using zombies.
Absolutely. And I love that they're carrying guns, and they're used as bludgeoning instruments.
Yep.
That is the best. It is so cool, and I love how so much effort has gone into the character of those models, of the Pox Walkers. They are so cool. Maybe, not even just the Pox Walkers, but the Plague Marines as well. I feel like that there's a lot of that whimsy of Nurgle that has been reintroduced into the model line. And a lot of the old, like, kind of designs for the old models have been retranslated into the new models. What I mean by this is some of the poses are exactly the same, just updated for a lot of these Plague Marines. But they have, like, distended bellies that turn into mouths. They have their guts hanging out. Like, it is unreal what they've done.
I'm really torn about the new Death Guard, like the Marines, because on one hand, they do kind of look like the Forge World ones, but not quite. Mm-hmm. So, since I have a full army of the Forge World models, I don't really know if I like them or not yet. I need to see them more.
Hello, everyone. At this point in the recording, we lost Adam due to internet issues. I mean, we didn't lose him. We know pretty much where he is most of the time. But that's not important. What is important is our next segment will have Pat and Adam looking over and reviewing and discussing the new Death Guard Codex. We hope that you enjoy it.
Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't. All right, welcome to the third segment. We were able to get a copy of the Death Guard book from Games Workshop. Thank you, Games Workshop. They're not listening.
I mean, why would they?
So I have Pat here. He's our resident Death Guard player. Actually, we have a lot of people jumping on the Death Guard bandwagon.
Well, a lot of people like Death Guard, but Chaos was just so bad, and I think the models are so fun, you know?
Yeah, they are super fun.
They're enjoying these rules.
Yeah, and I feel like, there were a lot of people playing Chaos in 5th edition, and there were quite a few people playing Death Guard in 5th edition. But, things did go poorly for some of them. That's true.
Yeah. Death Guard held out the best out of 7th with the Traitor Legion.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of.
Yeah. So, I guess this segment will be. Pat and I just played a game using the new codex, as we did in the last codex. Which was last 2 codex releases we did it by playing a game and then talking about the game. We're not really one of those podcasts that will pour through the book every single unit, talk about its competitive value and everything. I mean, this is a narrative podcast. We don't really talk about that shit. But we did get the book from Games Workshop, and we do kind of want to give you our perspective on it and how fun it is and how it relates to the army theme and all that stuff, and talk about some of the fun abilities that the units have. So one other thing, I did look at the lore. There's a lot of good lore added for after the emergence of the Cicatrix Maledictum, but I'm not going to talk about it today because it would be super spoilery. You probably want to read it for yourselves. I would pick up if you want to read about that stuff, pick up the book and read through that section. But I'm not gonna spoil the new lore section. So, yeah. Why don't we start off by talking about? I'll just really quickly say what my list was that I brought to our game. That way you know what kind of units Pat was faced against. Okay, I brought basically all the Imperial stuff that I have built and painted. I've got so my whole Primaris kind of panoply. So I had the Captain in Gravis armor. So he's got the fist and the sword, which actually matters for the fight that we got into with them. I had a Primaris Ancient so that I could basically get those last shots before guys died, and the relic I chose was the 3+ banner with them. Oh, and the captain, I decided to go ahead and use the Chapter Master stratagem, which that was huge.
That improved all your rerolls, right?
Oh, it was
from
amazing.
Ones to everything, which
mattered.
mattered.
It mattered so much in our game. Yeah. Then I had the Hellblaster squad, which amazing. I think in the last game I played against Skip, I actually overkilled a flyer with them, which was just you don't do that. They're so hard to hit in their vehicles. And I had a lieutenant for rerolling 1s to wound, which against Death Guard is pretty sweet. Then I had a repulsor tank with all the bells and whistles. Then I had 2 intercessor squads for my troops, and a Reaver squad coming in on the outflanking position. And I had 2 Imperial Knights, 1 Knight Gallant, which is the fisty, stabby one, and 1 Knight Errant, I believe, the one with the Melta cannon. So those guys were also in the battle. So that made, we did points for this one. So we did 2,000 points. Pat, okay. What was your list?
Okay. So there was just a plain Chaos Lord, with they've got this Bale sword. It's pretty much a power sword with Plague, rerolls 1. It's one of the new additions to Death Guard.
Nice.
Typhus, good choice.
Oh yeah.
Psyker.
He's
and
awesome.
I brought 3 squads of Pox Walkers, 120, 214, just to make the most out of his bubble. I included a Tallyman. That's one of the new units.
Yep. That's so cool.
It's an elite. He's got the when you're battle forged, you get on a set after you use a command point when he's on the battlefield. So if you spend points like I did before the battlefield for another relic, you actually don't get to re-roll on that because it says when he's on the battlefield.
Okay.
So it actually means if he's in a vehicle, he's technically not on the battlefield, so you don't get a re-roll.
Yeah.
So, but when he's on the battlefield, you get to roll 2 dice, and on a 7, you get those command points back.
That is so cool.
It's really cool. I used it 5 times and didn't get a single point back.
I didn't see the model in there, but
They
I
show
love
him.
the
They show him in
theme
the
of
skit.
that.
He's in the skit.
He's in the skin. Okay, yeah. The theme of him is freaking so cool.
Yeah, he has an aura that gives rerolls to something. A lot of new auras.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is the kind of army I could not play because I would have to remember so many.
Failed to
auras.
hits and fight.
Failed hits. He's so cool, and it's so thematic for Death Guard.
Yeah.
All right. What else did you have?
After the Tallyman, there was the 3 Death Shroud Terminators.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty cool. New Terminators.
Yeah. The models look
The
amazing.
Death Side. They've got the Scythes, the Man Reapers. They've got
Nice.
Hand Flamers, and they get the. It's called something Bodyguard, Silent
Are
Bodyguard.
the hand flamers pistols?
They're pistols. Yeah.
Oh, cool! So you can do them in
Well,
close combat.
yeah, if they survive.
Well, yeah.
The problem is that the problem and best thing is they have the Lookout Sir rule. They take wounds from characters within 3 inches. So, I use them to gain some extra wounds on one of the characters.
Okay.
The Blight Lord Terminators, they're the modified Terminators, regular Terminators, but plagued. They've got an extra toughness, feel no pain, and a few new top plagued weapons for options. And they also, on a 6, they get onto wounds, they do extra damage. No, extra AP. So it's kind of cool. Then the what's this thing? Myfatik Blighthauler, which is a new demon engine. It's kind of it gives you range and heavy weapons you don't get in the rest of the Death Guard. It's got a multi-melta, it has a missile launcher, and it's got a little stubber on top, and it's got an 8 wound vehicle with 5 up invulnerable. So
And he moves 10 inches, right?
he moves 10 inches. He's pretty quick.
Yeah, I love this unit. Like, this is a sleeper unit in this codex because not only is he awesome looking, which he is, he's like this little tricycle.
Oh, tank, yeah, a little
Tank
quad
guy,
tank, yeah.
and he's shooting lasers, and he looks awesome, and he also provides a cover save, right?
Yeah, any units fully within 7 inches get act as if they're in cover.
That is so rad,
It is cool.
especially for the
Pox
Walkers.
Walkers. Yeah, that's what I used him for. He walked with the Pox Walkers.
Is it infantry or any unit?
Any infantry. Not,
okay, that's pretty cool though. Still.
Then I had another fun unit, the Fall Blight Spawn.
Oh.
That's the one with the charge. So this guy is a heavy flamer, a special heavy flamer. Does some real cool damage. Does up to 2d6 damage. Strength. It's 2d6 strength. But what I included him for is he's got an aura that if assault within 7 inches of him, if a unit assaults anybody within 7 inches of him, they don't get to go first because he smells so bad.
I love him so much.
I mean, the idea, yes, he stinks so much you stop.
That is so good. I love it. And okay, let's talk about this real quick. I love that the auras are 7 inches.
Yes. Yeah. That 7 inches is, they really stuck with the 7 rule, the rule of 7. And it was just fun. It's a fun rule. I've always took my Plague Marines in squads of 7. I took 7 Terminators.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what you do when
If the special edition of the Codex doesn't come with a 7-inch ruler template, they messed up.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's just that little holding to that theme.
But I think as we discussed, like the movements and stuff in the army are slower, so that extra range on the auras actually kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Terminators are 4 inches. Almost everybody else is 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah.
One of the other things I took was the Plague Burst Crawler.
Okay.
So what that is, that's the one that you've seen the image of. It has the shield in front, the big mortar on top, and 2 plague spitters on the side.
Yeah.
It's also got a little gun, a stubber sticking out of the top.
Right.
That's the mortar. It's an indirect fire weapon. It's
that's cool.
It's your good range. It's your good strength.
Yep. And you were using your Vindicator, and you have a nice Nurgle Vindicator painted up, and I feel like anybody who also has a Nurgle Vindicator painted up,
I mean, I don't see a problem with using blue tack for the sponsons and putting some sponsons on it and calling your Vindicator one of these
with
things.
a little luck, I'm able to pop the doors off and get sponsons. You know, like
if you didn't use plastic glue, which we never did,
No.
We've always been super glue people.
Also, this book doesn't have Vindicators. They just went to the wayside.
There's
fine.
no that's totally fine. It's just if there's no Vindicators in the Death Guard Codex, I don't think anybody should feel bad about popping your doors off and throwing some heavy flamers on the side and calling it a day.
Yes, yeah, but I also had it as the like quasi las cannon-esque guns. Really fun.
Yeah.
Just to give
those are great. -4 AP.
I didn't have range. I didn't have a lot of strength range. I didn't have a lot of shooting in this list, so I kind of needed to bring that for that.
Well, yeah, you brought a good mixtures just so that we could talk about a lot of the different units. But I feel like
it was fun.
It was fine, yeah.
And then of course the big guy, right? I came in with
Mortarion. Yeah. You used your Nurgle Plague Knight, Imperial Knight for it, which it works fine.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be that. It's a huge model, right? It's got the large base.
Yeah. None of the immersion was lost for me. I mean, obviously we had to test it, so they didn't send us a Mortarion model.
Yes, I mean, and of course there's no way. Come on, there's not enough.
Come on, 24 hours. You can't put Mortarion in together and build and
Listen,
paint them?
I still have like Dark Imperium stuff sitting in my house. I would not want to. The guy's awesome. He's
so good.
He's got very thematic stuff too. Like he's got several 7-inch auras, 7 inches reduced toughness, 7 inches does mortal wounds. It comes up. He's a fly. He's got fly. He's beefy. He's kind of awesome. Expensive. I mean, he was a quarter of my army, but he did a quarter of my army's worth of work. So
yep, he did. So let's talk about the game real quick. Okay. So we decided to do a 4 objective mission. We arrayed them in a diamond pattern for Dawn of War, so that we would get into the fight. Like we would have to go for some of the objectives just because we needed to see the units come together. Yes. So we did that, and I deployed I had basically 4 or 5 deployments, right? I had the tank with all of the dudes in it, and the 2 knights on the field, plus the 2 troops, and then the reavers I had come in outflank. You set up across the table with your infantry in a kind of a
typhus blob with the surrounding himself with Pox Walkers
and all the things,
and most of the walkers and all the Terminators were in deep strike.
Because Mortarion needs them screening. Right?
He moves so fast compared to everybody else.
Right.
I had to bring him where I wanted to be in 2 turns.
Yeah, and I think from a thematic perspective, I think that makes a lot of sense that the Terminators would kind of show up when needed from orbit, and especially to support Mortarion.
Yes,
for sure. And I loved how that worked out because I kind of. You went first, fortunately, and even if you didn't, like I wouldn't really have a whole lot of range on Mortarion, so I think it was safe to drop them in later. And you move forward, drop them in, and I poured all of my shooting into Mortarion, and I didn't do any wounds. All I managed to do was kill off his bodyguards.
You killed the bodyguards, which were there to act as ablative wounds.
Yeah, it's great. It works wonderfully. The 4-up invuln save, the 5-up feel no pain. Could have been a 4-up feel no pain if you'd had the talent, or no.
Mortarion could have had it for himself. A plague
apothecary,
surgeon,
whatever.
Yeah,
the plague surgeon, which is a great addition to the army. We've always needed something like that.
Rerolling ones, just especially when you're rolling that many dice. He's got 18 wounds.
You're
gonna roll a lot.
Amazing.
You're gonna roll a lot of dice. You're gonna hit wounds every once in a while.
He's got like a little field kit for fixing guys up and a whole bunch of syringes. He's awesome.
He does look fun.
Yeah. He is so great. I thought that was really good, and not only that, like you had a guy already dead, right? For whatever.
Yeah, no, because I shot the Mortarion's pistol. It's great, 18-inch pistol, but it draws a straight line from closest spot on yours to the closest spot on the enemy, and I wound any unit in the way, which I happened to hit both my units. But again, you're chaos. It doesn't matter.
No.
Like, that's what you do. You just roll. You make that attack.
You just do it. Yeah, and it was fine.
I did 3 wounds to your tank.
Oh yeah,
and that's all I care about. I did 3 wounds to my guy, but that's fine. That's what he's there for. He's there to make sure the wounds.
That was so great. Yeah, and I managed to not like do anything, and then you killed my tank and a bunch of my guys. Assaulted in. At some point, you assaulted my Imperial Knight and killed it in 1 turn.
I did a lot of psychic powers too.
Yes, true.
I just Mortarion's got during the fight phase just does. Anyone within 7 inches suffers. Yeah. Has a chance to suffer mortal wounds based on how many wounds he's got.
And he's just pouring out all these diseases and rot.
Cutting down your toughness.
Oh, turning down toughness by 1. Mortarion feels like Mortarion.
You blew up, your vehicle blew up. So there's mortal wounds were divvied out.
Oh, yeah, cool. the vehicle did explode and kill a bunch of guys. Yeah, and I really feel like Mortarion feels like a Primarch.
You have to get him out, though. He needs to be in the middle.
He needs to be in the business.
But, that means he's going to be a target. So, again, that's why I wanted to include those Terminators. I would have liked to see them in combat.
Yeah, if you weren't bringing, like, a smorgasbord, would you have brought 2 units of those?
I would have probably brought less Pox Walkers. I probably would have left that whole type of
Pox Walkers are amazing.
They're cool, but if I was going to focus on, like, making Mortarion march the field, there would have been multiple squads of Terminators that would have come in multiple turns so that he can move and transfer to other groups.
Yeah. I feel like, as a man who loves his dreadnoughts, do you think there's a, like, Mortarion dreadnought combo? Well, okay. There's not a competitive combo, but do you think you could mix those lists together?
I think because I like to do the melee too, you got to deal with something. And if you're focusing on Mortarion, he can absorb a lot of the attention.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, your knight can go and try to hit him. I have a chance to save.
Yep.
But then all those my dreadnoughts, Hellbrutes are fighting you as well. Yeah. They're getting in there punching. Love fists. They're great.
Yeah.
And so like I can see it. I'm probably gonna see that list a couple times.
Because it's super fun.
I also own 8 Hellbrutes.
You own 8. I feel like you should sell one so you could own 7 Hellbrutes, but that's just my opinion.
Well, you got to change. You have to have different weaponry, so you definitely need.
True. So what else? The Pox Walkers. So like, there's some cool stuff that I was working with when I was playing with the Chaos Space Marine Codex with the Noise Marines. I was really excited about the Veterans of the Long War stratagem, which is awesome. The reroll to wound, or +1 to wound, +1 to wound.
+1 to wound.
Because that's awesome, because no matter what your strength is, you're like strength. It's better than a +1 to strength, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, what you were saying was, you're stacking all these awesome like buffs on these characters.
Okay. Yeah.
You're actually like getting to like 3 to wound and 2 to wound against tough models with Pox Walkers.
Yeah. Well, you
can tear a knight down.
Well, and then you get a Lord nearby or a Demon Prince with a reroll to 1s, and that adds up.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Like you were saying that you really did enjoy the game that we played.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game. I mean, it was great because you came to me. We met. We were playing tight. It would have been really interesting to see a more where I have to. Death Guard is not a chase you army.
No,
they're hold as many objectives as you need to win and try to be there at the end.
Yeah.
So certain other armies, I can't wait to play our friend Eldar. See what he does.
Oh yeah.
Movement. He's got more movement and options like that. I can't compete, so I'm going to be huddled on the majority of the objectives and just try to outlast.
It'll be interesting to see like Maelstrom type objectives, like objectives where you have to like go get things. See how it does with those missions. You might hold back with the Terminators in those missions just so you can drop on objectives. But who knows? I mean, sometimes just that inexorable walk forward. They're not sure, you might have a hard time getting other people's objectives, but they're going to have just as hard a time getting your objectives because you're going to be covering the battle.
There's also land raiders. We have access to those. They're expensive, but
yep. So it'll be fun to watch Death Guard move forward. The models, you guys, like, I'm looking through this book and I'm like, oh, there is way more than we suspected, especially when it comes to characters. There are a lot of fun elite choices and HQ choices in here.
There's a character that I needed to talk about. He buffs Blight grenades. Now, grenades, you can throw one grenade. Why would you make a character then buff Blight grenades? So that they do more damage and they have a higher strength and they do more damage. Because there's a stratagem. It's 1 CP. Your entire squad can then throw Blight grenades. So I'm just imagining, I know Adam and when he runs orcs, Loopy, it's terrible. I don't have the volume of fire.
Yeah.
But if I have 7 Plague Marines and you have 30 orcs, I can, if I'm within 6 inches and I can play the 1 CP, I'm now doing 7d6, strength 4, 2 damage each. All of a sudden, like, is worth that 70 points for that one guy? Kind of is. Like, that's, that's and these elite options to just choose what you want to buff. And that's cool. Because all the cool new characters are elites. The Tallyman's elite, the grenade, the Blight Surgeon. And you get a lot of elites in the, what is it, battalion? I always forget. Was it?
But either one.
The one where you get 3, you only have to have 3 troops. That's a good one. That's a nice, easy one to hit.
Yeah. And and the characters are so cool. You might just go ahead and hit and go for the Vanguard detachment and which you could just take 3 elites and 1 HQ. And get a command point for it. You're good to go.
Yeah.
I love the feated Blight drone with the flesh mower. It's literally called a flesh mower. It mows flesh.
It looks like a lawnmower that is just
meant for flesh.
This would not be out of sight on an orc vehicle.
No, it's amazing.
Oh, and
it's actually gross, right?
Yeah, well, they painted it up real good. There's like bits and goo. But the best part is, like, okay, so that's a unit that is going to be out in the midst of the enemy trying to chew them up. Another fun stratagem. Spend 1 CP. Your vehicle that dies explodes. Guaranteed. Okay, so, I mean, if you're putting a sacrificial vehicle and you're just running it and keeping it as close to multiple units as possible, so you know it's going to die.
Yeah.
But you also get a little bang for your buck at the end. You're guaranteed.
So many mortal wounds.
Well, it's like if you ever went for my vehicle that I always kept that within 7 inches of your thing. I wanted him to, if you killed my Blighthauler, I had a CP like I think that one blows up on a 4. Yeah, it's great. So
that's amazing.
And that just lets you know they're having fun. And these vehicles, like, it's not too much. That's not terrible. That guy can actually come in a squad of 3.
Yeah,
and he actually becomes better shooters that way.
Yeah. Oh, imagine just running a unit of 3 of those into like a big thing like an Imperial Knight. And just if they die, just exploding with mortal wounds in a chain
you're doing your
reaction of
shots
death.
again. But the thing is, you're always getting a little bit out. You have a good chance of getting that. And if you have
just
a CP,
all that pus and acid, like bile spewing out, I can see it. I can see it on the battlefield. Now it's very thematic. I feel like the army plays the way it should.
It's lumbering. It doesn't have a lot of range. Like that's, but what it does is it has a territory that you got to come across. If you want them, you want what they got, you got to get up there and start pulling them out. It's funny. What is it? Mortarion lost most of his wounds to bolters.
Yeah.
Just, volume of fire.
Yeah.
That's the thing about like,
well, I made that choice with the knight. The one time I did get to swing with the knight,
stomped.
I chose to use the stomp instead because he's got that 4-up invuln save, and he's
less saves.
Yeah, you want to in the toughness 7. It's better to just go with the strength 8 instead of the strength 12. doing D3 wounds. So yeah, it's you definitely want to put a lot of bullets in him, but at the same time, when he's got his Terminators there, they're gonna soak that up.
But also, like, I mean, and that's the best part. They've got that unreliability that I like. The randomness. You can't plan for, but yes, they're fun, and I can see someone really, getting the docs with them to make sure that these squads have the best chance to recover, and that'd be great. Like, imagine just these Terminators that just won't go away.
Yeah, I really like the fact that like they have thought about the competitive player, but also like they've definitely thought about adding a lot of fun and a lot of variety to the army. You could really play anything you want, except like you said, I sit back and shoot ranged army, but you don't want that with the Death Guard anyways. So,
no, they're going to constantly move forward. Again, and that's there's the new Blight launchers, the 9-inch flamers, things that are about get you moving, get you within range, and then get in there and hit them. Yep. A lot of the new weapons, they all get plague weapon, which means you reroll ones, and that there's other stratagems that affect plague weapons and things that affect plague weapons.
Mm-hmm. We haven't even talked about all the
there's a lot. It's
all the relics and stuff. Yeah, like I said, this isn't a rundown of everything, but I think we've given folks a good kind of idea of what they can expect from the Codex if they pick it up next week. Once again, Pat, thank you so much for staying late today and playing with me and recording. It was a lot of fun.
No, thanks for letting me look at a Codex that kind of got me back into 40K. Right? Like, I mean, remember, I was out. It was that new box.
You were out.
I was out.
Way
and then
out.
They go, we're going to give you exactly what you want. And I think they did.
Yeah.
They hit a lot of I want them to have fun.
Yeah.
But it still make it usable. Like, I can't wait to see how this works.
Yeah, I think a lot of our listeners are like that. A lot of our listeners probably just, they want the fun, they want the variety, they want the army to match the lore, but at the same time they want to be able to walk up to a table at their club and expect to have a chance. They want to kill models, right? I feel like this army is going to kill models.
I mean, we didn't get it finished because we were running we wanted to get this out before the end of the day.
Yeah.
But we have lives. That was fun, and like I'm super excited about the next time I get to run with this.
Yeah.
I want to see.
We should definitely do a campaign. I feel like we should do like a 3-game campaign like we did before. I think.
Well, we use the cards.
The cards. Yeah, those cards. We should play with the open war deck.
Make some real interesting, weird battles.
Yeah.
And
should we do my Slanesh army versus your Nurgle army? That would be super fun.
I mean, sure. You don't have I'm trying to think of whether you're going to have the same army.
It'll force me to paint models, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, those Primaris Marines, they're so cool. Like, again, I think the key with Death Guard is fighting Death Guard is, hey, keep that range,
Yeah.
You got a little
back.
greedy. You got greedy with your double tap.
I did. When I could have just sat back and shot 3 times before you got to me.
Yes.
Which would have been the same thing. Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I think against Death Guard, you don't, unless you're orcs or something, let them walk towards you for a little while and get some shots in.
Yeah. Orcs are volume of fire, so it doesn't really matter anyways. Yep. But yeah, no, it's like you need to think about, well, what can I do? Can I outrange you?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, Pat, thanks again. Folks, stick around for commercials, and we'll be right back with close out this show.
I just want to invite you to Frayed Paintbrush Hobby Progress Facebook group. It is a positive group set up to motivate us to hobby and then share it with all the other members. At the beginning of the month, post up your monthly challenge on the page, and then at the end of the month, you post the completed work for all to see. No pressure, just fun among friends. Once again, that's Frayed, FRAYED Paintbrush. Hope to see you there.
All right. Well, let me see here. Let me put
We kind of lost Adam to the warp.
Yeah. Something happened.
He disconnected and he just can't get back online. So guess it's gonna be us then. Hooray!
Yay!
So I guess this is the outro now. Let's see. What should we talk about in the outro?
Everything that we don't remember how to talk about because Adam isn't here.
Yeah.
There's probably some events going on. Adam will remind us of those.
Let's see. The show notes. Next week, we're going to talk about Fate of Connor and narrative gaming at your club. Oh, that'll be cool.
Good topics.
Yeah, those are good topics. Let's see. What else? I think Big Jim might be coming in for that one. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, fingers crossed, Big Jim will be there.
Yeah. Let's see. What else can we talk about?
And if it doesn't, then we'll just say that he's a lazy bastard.
We can just say that anyway. Even if he shows up or not. He'll probably appreciate it. Make him happy. Let's see. What else? So since this is supposed to be the outro, please leave us a nice review on iTunes.
iTunes review.
Yeah.
Or give us some feedback on Facebook is always appreciated.
Twitter. And
bug Adam. Yeah, Twitter, actually. You can bug Adam for not being here for the outro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely bug Adam.
It's his fault if it sucks.
If you are an Instagram type of person, hashtag Masters of the Forge. That's where I tag all of my stuff. Let's see. I think we've got everything, right? mastersoftheforge.net or is it .com? I should know this.
.com.
.com. Mastersoftheforge.com.
I'm still paying for that, so I should know.
Oops. Okay. Anything else that you could think of?
No, just a certain blurb about how we like to play games.
Oh yeah, well you're gonna see that at the end. But let's see. Well, Snorre, it was good to have you on. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah. Maybe if I do this another time, it's gonna be tradition because then it's gonna be the third time, and maybe I'll be back.
Oh, ooh, that means we say your name 3 times, you reappear.
Yeah, but then I'm probably gonna have to kill you too, because that's usually how that goes. If you say someone's name 3 times and turn around and they appear in the mirror and knife you, isn't it?
That is true.
Isn't that what the urban myth is?
I guess. I don't know. I was thinking of clicking your heels 3 times and no place like Snorre or something like that.
Well, actually, say my name 3 times in front of a mirror, because then maybe I can get a chance to visit Texas.
I'll wait until.
How about that?
I'll wait until November. How about that? Because I don't think you want to be down here like right now. But anyways, all right. So until next week,
play the game the way you want to. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.